Basically, God playing quarterback.
Chiefs Kingdom
live.
So on at it. What's hot? Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
Yeah, when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper and go get it.
It's Mahomes' house, and it is good. Woo! Arrowhead man. The Lombardi Trophy has a red and gold reflection. You gotta fight for your right to party.
Woo! Let's go.
Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday. It's 6:30. It's Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thank you so much for joining us. While you're here, real quick, if you wouldn't mind, before you forget, click or tap that like and click or tap that subscribe. Also, maybe tell a friend or a family member. Help spread the word. Tell some Chiefs fans. We'd sure appreciate it. Got a good show lined up for everybody tonight. We're just dragging through the offseason here, but there's been some Chiefs news and some Chiefs stats that we've dug up here recently that we're going to talk about. Playoff Mahomes is the man. That's all there is to it, and we're going to get into the numbers that prove it here pretty soon. So there's some other Chiefs news and some goings on around the NFL we're going to talk about. Before we get into it, fellas, how are we doing tonight? Bo, good to see you back, man.
Awesome to see you guys as well. Feels like it's been forever, but doing good. Yeah, doing great. I feel like I just picked the perfect little pocket of perfection. Sorry for the alliteration there, but man, Flagstaff's amazing. I am just bragging as much as I can about this city. Perfect little place to beat the heat. And notice, are you guys okay? I'm seeing like some flooding going on over in Missouri and Kansas going on. Are you guys doing good over there?
Yeah, I mean, it might be the apocalypse, but, you know, at least we got to see the Chiefs win a few Super Bowls before the world ended. No, man, it's fine. We've had some rain. I've seen some flood warnings, but, I mean, where we are, it's fine. Just it's better than being like 100 degrees. I'll take the rain over the heat, so.
We've had a few blazing hot days, but it's really been a mild summer here so far. And the rain, although there's been a little bit of flooding and whatnot, nothing crazy. More like kind of like some flash flooding here with some thunderstorms we had in a couple days, and the Missouri's up, but it's not like spilling over the levees or doing too much damage, getting too out of control. So
good. Because the shit I'm hearing from over here is just like, well, watch out, take cover, evacuate.
Yeah. If you know somebody in Missouri or Kansas, call them and say goodbye to the fucking weather people.
Pretty much.
You know how they are, man. Those people are they're something else. So, but yeah, Nick, you're doing good.
Yeah. I mean, we don't need Noah to get the boat. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. We're just I'm ready for 4th of July. Every time I think of fireworks, I think about the time we were at Arrowhead and playoffs and they ran out of fireworks because we scored so many fucking touchdowns on the Texans. But yeah, we're just gearing up for 4th of July. Celebrate the country's birthday in style here. Missouri, you can buy whatever you want, as opposed to in New Mexico where you had to go to the reservations when we were growing up to get anything, and it was definitely not legal to use them. So, I mean, it's the desert. That's fair, right? I mean, there's wildfires going on right now down in New Mexico, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
So I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm ready to blow some stuff up.
Yeah, not only illegal in New Mexico, but also pretty dangerous. So there's some municipalities here around the KC metro. I think KC, Missouri proper, like in city limits, fireworks are illegal, but not really a danger. People get their roof set on fire here and there, but it's not like burning down half the state.
Oh no, somebody's house caught on fire.
Yeah, Big Doug.
Oh, no, somebody was losing a hand.
Big Doug might remember buying some young kids fireworks and giving them to him unsupervised, and they may or may not have set the neighbor's fence on fire and almost burned down the neighborhood and probably half the state. But Big Doug was that kind of guy. He was that kind of dad, and love him for it. So good to see everybody in the chat.
Doug.
Speaking
Cheers,
of Big
man.
Doug, got Big Doug in the house. Brenda, I'm sure Laney's in there somewhere. I think I saw Maria. Maybe we see Shippy and Kevin and the rest of the crew. Our man John C. We're going a little bit early tonight, so trying to get a jump start on the holiday here. So appreciate everybody coming in. Let's go. Happy birthday, America. Let's get that out of the way tomorrow, since we obviously are doing the show tonight. it's got its issues and it's got its troubles and whatever, but still no other place I'd rather be living in the world than right now. National Football League here in the great U.S. of A. Patrick Mahomes. Let's just talk about playoff Patrick. Let's just get to that right out of the gate here. Playoff Patrick, I was doing some digging and thinking of and looking at some numbers on playoff Patrick Mahomes. If you follow us on X or on social media, you probably saw the post that we put out. I think Nick or Bo can get to it and bring it up on the screen here, but Patrick Mahomes.
One? No, I don't. Hold on. Stop sharing.
Technical difficulty there. Bo's muted.
It's going to be just a second.
We did it.
Go ahead.
We did it right at the same time. I think that's what happened.
Oh, all right. You go, Bo. There you go.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. There it is.
Yep. So if you look at the bottom post there, Patrick Mahomes has a 5-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, 41-8 in the postseason. The top tweet there after I dug up that little nugget, I was like, well, I wonder what some of these other all-time greats or GOATs were in the postseason. Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning coming in at 2-1. And that's a generous rounding on Peyton Manning there. Dan Marino 1-1. John Elway, barely a 1-to-1 ratio there. Patrick Mahomes, that's more than twice, right, than these guys. He's also got a 15-3 postseason record, and 15 wins puts him third all time, only one behind Joe Montana for second place, and then obviously Tom Brady's first with an astronomical amount of playoff wins because the Patriots, they made the playoffs every year, right? And the guy played forever, even when he went to Tampa Bay. He was making postseasons and winning games. But what Patrick Mahomes has done in the playoffs is really unmatched. Especially when you consider the first 6 years, never not made it to an AFC championship game as a starter. So that means he's perfect, obviously, in the wild card and divisional rounds of the playoffs. This Chiefs team, Nick and Bo, how many playoff wins did they have before Patrick Mahomes got here in our lifetime? 1, 2?
2, I think. 2?
Yeah. And those were a long time ago, man. Most of those. In the 80s and the early 90s, maybe a wild card game or something like that. But one AFC championship game in our lifetime before Patrick Mahomes, and you have to go all the way back to the mid-90s when Joe Montana was here, who's obviously on the list there and one of the all-time great players.
Alex Smith won a playoff game.
He did.
Playoff game.
He did.
A shutout, too.
It was a shutout. That was against a pretty poor Houston Texans team. I believe Niall Davis returned the opening kickoff for that game for a touchdown, too. They led from the very first play on in that game. So, playoff Patrick, Nick, could you ever imagine in your wildest dreams someone would come in and play quarterback of this team and put up that kind of playoff production?
No, I went from the age of 10 to the age of 30-something without seeing us win a playoff game, right? I really was happy for the Lions fans when they got that playoff drought off their back, because I know what that feels like. You just kind of feel like a chump when you're rooting for your team. They just keep losing the season. And so, yeah, and the Chiefs had a lot more at-bats, I think, than the Lions did. And just, it was just something about the Chiefs. They just never put it together in the postseason. And it was just we have names for the games. That's how bad it was, right? We got the no punt game, the forward progress game, right? The Lynn Elliott game or whatever. And so but from the very first playoff game where it was against the Colts, who always are the team that just murked us, right? They were like our kryptonite. To see Patrick come out, we won 31-13. Cruz, it was cold weather. He was, airbending the ball around defenders in that game. And it was really just never close. And it was such a beatdown that Andrew Luck decided never to play another NFL game after that happened. So yeah, I would have never imagined it, right? I mean, just to have this run, you look at that 5-1, 41-8. I mean, that's
That's
it's
unreal.
it seems like a Madden stat, like a made up stat. So I mean, we're just very fortunate, right? We're just really lucky, but we deserve it because we suffered a lot. So I'm not going to apologize for where we're at now. You know what I mean? And
It's got to
that's
think
it.
you're muted there, buddy. But yeah, no, I'll just kind of trail off of you there, Nick. I mean, I echo your sentiments completely. For so long, I came over when Joe Montana came over. I was a 49ers kid just because, when you're that young, you get to pick who you want to be. Being from New Mexico, too, you get to pick your team. But as a kid, you're just following the winners, right? And Montana was lighting it up. And so when he went to the Chiefs, I was just like, yeah, this is my guy. I'm going with him. And I thought he was going to do something. And just, I didn't know like the weight that first playoff win brought with him, right? Like I was just kind of used to that being a Montana fan, and then like to go that long drought, just like, oh man, what did I do? Like, did I pick the right team? Should I have just stayed with the 49ers this whole time? But like I mean, I echo Nick. I would not trade that for what we have right now. And I feel the same because I have some friends that are Lions fans, so I feel the same about how they got over their playoff slump in the sense that when we did, there's some key things that I remember happening in the Chiefs' history that like there was just some turning points. Winning in the playoffs is one of them. It gets that huge monkey off your back. The other one's bringing in a good coach, a solid coach that you can put your faith in. People have faith in him. Your players have faith in him. And then, I feel like breeds the talent. And that's kind of what happened with us. We brought Andy Reid in, and man, you could see the players believe in him. And then that just kind of, people started looking like, oh, Chiefs aren't such a bad option. But do we get this Mahomes kid? And now everybody's looking to play on our team. So no, not in my wildest dreams would I've ever imagined that this is where we're at. But oh, I'm so thankful, man. And we're talking about statistical outliers with this stat, and I'm kind of thinking, Brady's is also impressive, but like one of the things that people talk about him so much is how long he played, and it's kind of like this great stat they attribute to him, like he played for so long, he was so great. But I mean, Mahomes is going to surpass, if he keeps this pace, he's going to surpass that so quick and not even need to play that long. And then that might be one of the downsides to the Tom Brady story is like, man, it took him that long to do it, and look what Mahomes did so quickly. So yeah, that's my kind of 2 cents. The playoff Patrick can't beat it.
Yeah, that was a smart move not to stick with the 49ers. In hindsight, you would have been having a bad time
Yeah.
during the Super Bowls here the last few years.
The Mahomes era.
You would have been like our guy John V and our guy Nick
man.
from Shank
I
Club.
would be breaking appliances during games.
And Dion and the rest. So yeah, obviously nothing wrong with questioning maybe that choice there for a long time, but the payoff has been there now, and the Chiefs have owned the 49ers since Patrick Mahomes, right? His first home start was against the 49ers, right? And he smoked them. That was the game where Jimmy G blew his knee out, I believe. And the game where he had the play where he scrambled one way and then turned around, ran back across the field and sidearmed it to the back corner of the end zone for a touchdown. He's undefeated against the 49ers in his career, including twice in the Super Bowl. I also put out a post the other day about all three of his Super Bowl wins have come against the NFC's number 1 seed that year, which if you go back and look and see, that is a rare feat. Although I will say Joe Montana, all 4 of his Super Bowl wins came against 1 seeds in the AFC. A couple of those were like the Denver Broncos that one year where they were the 1 seed, but the NFC just dominated the AFC back in those days. And that Broncos team, John Elway kind of drug a mediocre team to the Super Bowl, and they got waxed by Joe Montana then, but still an impressive feat nonetheless.
Right.
When Patrick Mahomes got here, obviously was excited. Obviously had never seen this team really make that move for the quarterback in our lifetime, right? Kind of got the retreads from other teams, or they would draft a guy in the middle rounds somewhere in there. How many teams too? The crazy thing is, how many teams have you seen go and draft a quarterback and move up, or to get a franchise quarterback, and it never works, and the Chiefs just hit that fastball out of the park for a home run the very first time, right? First pitch, first go at it, and they get arguably you could say the best start to a career of a quarterback of all time. You could even more so say playoff start to a career with the numbers we've put up there and we've been talking about. So, yeah, the guy's incredible. 15 playoff wins already. The guy's been starting for 6 years. Playoff games are hard to win. Like, I feel almost like we forget that at some point, but
I've had Patrick Mahomes on my team for 5.5, 6 years now, right?
Right.
They don't look that hard. Come on.
If you don't make it to the AFC Championship game, it's a disappointment right now, right?
Right.
That is the bar. That's the bar. That's unreal.
6 years ago, and what were we all doing 6 years ago? The last time the Chiefs didn't make an AFC Championship game.
Not expecting an AFC Championship game, that's for sure.
Me and you were leaving the parking lot at Arrowhead Stadium, utterly destroyed and pissed off because
I was mad at that one.
That's what we were doing.
Yeah. So Patrick Mahomes, playoff Patrick, really the guy is unmatched. And going into last year, I don't know what other questions are there to answer, or is there anything that he has left to prove at this point, especially when it comes to playoffs? Going into last year, it was but he's never played on the road. Like, it's some sort of knock that he was so good that he got to play at home every playoff game for the first 5 years of his career as a starter. He goes on the road last year and smokes the 2 and the 1 seed in their stadium. 2-0 on the road in the playoffs now. Is there anything left for this dude to do? I know the 3-peat's never been done. Is that it at this point, Bo?
4-peat?
3-peat?
What do we call it?
I don't,
Is there anything else left to do? I'm obviously getting ahead of myself, but no,
take on the Celtics 8-peat.
There we go. Yeah, that's so impressive. We'll get to that here in a second, but no, you can see it in all of his interviews, and like even right after the Super Bowl win. He's about that 3-peat, man, and I feel like that's the first stepping stone that he needs to get in that GOAT conversation and almost solidify his position with it. We're almost at a point in sports where the number of championships isn't the all saying determinant about who's going to be the GOAT or who's the best quarterback to play. If you look at basketball, there's plenty of other teams with more championships and everything, but everybody kind of considers Jordan. There's your play for Kobe and LeBron if you're more modern, but everybody kind of generally agrees it's Jordan. Way less championships than, as Nick just pointed out, the Celtics back in the day. So I think that I think he knows that 3-peat it brings a lot of prestige with it, and I can see him wanting that more than the back-to-back.
Nick, anything else for him left to prove? Or obviously he could go out and win more Super Bowls. Maybe the counting stats, right? Like, he could get himself in first place all time passing yards. He get himself maybe some stats like that. But anything else other than just longevity counting stats are left for him to kind of prove? Anything you'd like to see him do in the postseason?
I think postseason wise, obviously
win the Super Bowl as a wild card or something, maybe. I don't know.
I think that he's alluded that what he wants to prove to himself is that he can still, have a deep passing game, right? And he's talked about that. And I think that he hears a little bit of the dink and dunk noise that comes, and he's just throwing the ball, 2 or 3 yards, and it's Kelsey Merchant. I think he hears a little bit of that, and I think it's just not as exciting for him too, right? To throw those short slants and the quick bubble screens and stuff. But I guess it depends on what you mean for what's left to prove. He's literally done everything. He's achieved at the highest level that any team has ever achieved in the history of the sport, right? The highest achievement that any team has done is gone back-to-back Super Bowls. Nobody's ever topped it in the NFL. And you can talk about, Brady winning 7. Brady's got more rings than any franchise, which, that definitely is something to bring up. But I mean, he's also been mired in some scandals, and some of those teams had some things that I argue detract from those achievements and detract significantly, in my opinion. So no, I mean, I don't think he has anything left to prove, but I think that he's still just driven. I mean, the three-peat, would be like the ultimate unattainable, right? Nobody in the history of the sport's been able to do it. So, I mean, that I saw Brenda put, undefeated season. If you could go 20-0, win a Super
That's a
Bowl,
good one.
there's only been
That's a good
one
one.
undefeated season, and it was in the 14-game, season. So I think those are the two, white whales that are out there, right, to chase. But I mean, he doesn't have anything left to prove. The guy retires now. He goes in the Hall of Fame. He's won 3 Super Bowls. He's got 3 Super Bowl MVPs. He's got two league MVPs. He's been voted the #1 player in the NFL, I think, twice now. I mean, he's accomplished literally everything you can in the sport.
Yeah, he's had the 50 touchdown, 5,000-yard passing season already. As far as playoffs go, I mean, he's just been able to win on the road. He's been able to win at home. He's been able to win as the underdog, as the favorite. You mentioned he wants to reprove that he can get the deep passing game going, right, and be the deep. But he did that his first couple of years in the playoffs. The Wasp to Tyreek Hill was a bomb. That was it doesn't get as much run or as much recognition as Wasp, but the pass to Sammy Watkins down the sideline, that was a deep pass that set up a huge touchdown in that game. It was a momentum shifter. So I feel like he's proven that he can pass, and he's had the deep threat and the big arm in the playoffs before. Yeah, I mean, a three-peat, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and start talking like 4 Peats or 5 Peats or something. You mentioned the Celtics 8-peat, which we were talking about. We're going to get to maybe some Rashee Rice news that is favorable for the 3-peat here. But before we came live, we were talking about the 3-peat. And if they get that, then a 4-peat. And then we were talking, is a team like in the big 3 or professional sports ever done? And there's like the Yankees have done the 4-peat, the Celtics. That was going back to like the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. Which hockey team was it that did it in the 80s? I think was the most recent. We're talking about, was that the Canadians, I want to say, or was that the Oilers? One of those teams, maybe the Islanders.
The Rangers. Oh, wait,
Rangers.
No, sorry. No, I was looking at the wrong thing. The Islanders did it from 80 to 83.
Right. So, obviously a little bit different animal, hockey, than football, less people on the field, maybe a little bit easier to keep that core nucleus of people together. But it's out there, and they're going to be going for it. Looks like got our man Redleg watching on Rumble. Appreciate that. Thanks for jumping in. If you don't have a Rumble account, go check it out. It's a cool app, and we're on there. And then there's some good Chiefs content on the Rumble app too. We appreciate the followers there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
They've got a unique format. It's like you can start doing different things with your broadcasts depending on how many followers you have, like, subscribing to your account on there. So if you're not on Rumble, or if you are on Rumble, go over there and give us a follow and give us a like, or give us some views there. Obviously, you can watch us on X and here on YouTube. The 3-peat got maybe a shot in the arm here recently. Rashee Rice, we've gone over this a bunch of times, obviously. The legal issues that he's facing with the speeding and the accident and the street racing, or maybe, I don't know if they've determined it was street racing, but that's kind of what it looks like, right? At this point. Getting drug out in the legal process, and anybody who's familiar with the legal process knows that a lot of the times that is a strategy that people use, drag it out as long as possible.
Yeah, that's the thing.
There's some whispers that maybe, Nick, you said before we came on air, you brought up the Alvin Kamara issue, where he got in a fight, right, and seriously injured someone in a club. He didn't get suspended for that because of the legal process or whatever. He actually got suspended, missed time 2 seasons after that incident. It was like the second season after
Right.
that whole thing went down. There's some talk about maybe Rashee Rice doesn't get suspended this year and that gets punted to next year. No pun intended there. Guys, let's go to you first, Bo. What do you think? Like, what percentage chance? Like, you think it's 50-50 he plays a full season this year? Less than 50-50? What kind of odds are you giving Rashee Rice for playing all 16 or 17 games at this point this year?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head there, man. 50-50. I mean, he's either going to get to play or not, right? I mean, it's super speculative at this point. Everything I've read, it's still all speculation. And like you said, the legal process could wrap up next week, could wrap up at the end of this year, could start next year, right? So it's just a whole matter of like red tape getting through on that end. But it's a little bit more than a whisper. So it's a little bit more than speculation because I believe Mike Florio's out on Pat McAfee talking about this, right? So, I mean, it's a little bit more than a whisper when you're telling how many viewers does that guy get? Tens of millions of viewers, right? That this might be the case, and it's not too dissimilar to the Alvin Kamara situation that you just brought up. I mean, man, that news just like lifted my spirits when I heard that. Like, all right, like let's defer this. I mean, from everything I've read, both cars were in his name too, so it's like it's not like he took somebody out. I guess he did kind of hurt somebody. Details are a little fuzzy. Still, I'm not an expert on this by any means, but that's what I'm saying.
Allegedly.
It's all speculation. Allegedly. Yeah, great one. Allegedly. But no, now I'm super hopeful that, if you delay it long enough, maybe the sentiment and the emotion kind of gets removed from the situation a little bit and people kind of see it for what it was. He could have hurt people a lot more, didn't, thankfully, but young millionaire wrecked some cars. So who knows? I'm hopeful that that's kind of the case. Like, it seems kind of positive. The talk is trending that way online. Everybody seems to think that that's going to be the case. He will play this year. I'm stoked about that. I mean, that just improves our chances. Does feed fuel to that? Oh, everything's rigged for the Chiefs fire, right? Like, oh, everybody's just going to let the Chiefs just walk away with another one kind of thing. But hey, I'll take it. I appreciate the justice system, right? It's like I said, it's all speculation. So I mean, even we're commenting on it at this point. It's that big. So I mean, I'm glad he's getting his time in court and that they're going to be able to like take their time with this one. So, what about you, Nick? What are your thoughts? You think 50-50? You think greater odds, less odds?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like the one time that some random thing that Mike Florio has said, I want it to be right. Like. Last couple of years, it was the Mahomes contract thing, and then it was like Andy Reid's retirement, and now it's this Rashee Rice thing. So, yeah, look, I know the legal system. If you got the money, like you can defer things for a really long time. I guess my question is, I know the NFL does their own investigations, and before things are wrapped up, sometimes you'll see these go into effect. And I mean, we saw it with Justin Ross last season, right? Where that all that stuff hadn't really panned out. I think in court yet, probably wasn't fully settled. If I'm remembering right, I could be wrong, but I think that they look at the situation. But yeah, look, if we can push it out, I mean, that just helps the three-peat, right? I mean, that's that. I mean, look, I'm not too ashamed to say that, like, I'm in favor of that, right? I mean, it helps my sports team. I mean,
no shame in this game.
Well, in the legal thing hasn't played out yet, right? So if he hasn't been convicted of anything, he hasn't actually pled guilty to anything, he hasn't actually incurred any punishment, why should he be punished his place of employment? Is kind of the way I look at it. So yeah, I'm good with it, man. I would yeah, coin toss probably. I mean, the thing that makes me nervous is like what I think John was saying, and it's like I just hope it doesn't like get delayed and then happen in the middle of the season, which would be awful, right? Where they like he misses like the last 6 games of the season or something. But we'll see how it goes. Looks like we got Lego in here. What's up, Lego? Susan, hey, what's up?
Yeah, good to see y'all. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, I don't think there's any chance that a suspension would carry over into the postseason. You see a lot of these suspensions are handed out especially for off-season incidents. They're handed out at the beginning of a season. So, I mean, right now, I think it's less than 50% chance that the league doesn't do something this coming season. The Alvin Kamara thing, that was an unusual course of action, I guess you could say, by the NFL. That's not typically how they work. They don't always wait for the legal process to pan out. They don't always agree their investigation. There's been players that have had accusations that got charged. You see the charges get dropped, and the league still punishes the player anyway. So a punishment is coming. I'm still anticipating it being this year, but I'm not as confident or not as sure that it's this year, right? As I was a week or so ago. You mentioned Florio is the one that brought it up. That guy, he was talking the other day about with Patrick Mahomes approaching 30, the question has to be asked, when will he retire? And I'm like, bro, he's at least 10 or 12 years away from retiring, man. Like
8 too, dude.
The guy hates, I don't know if he hates the Chiefs or if he's just trying to find anything he can to bring up about the Chiefs because they're the talk of the NFL, right? They're the back-to-back defending Super Bowl champions. But, yeah, I agree with you there where that was the one time he said something that I had a favorable opinion on.
That's where it's that's why I paid a little bit more attention to it. It's just
sure.
This is a different take from this guy.
Right. Whether you agree with the guy or not,
he's a warrior. So
right. Whether you agree with the guy or not, he's not someone that's got 3,500 followers on social media, right? I mean,
exactly.
The dude's getting interviewed by Tony Dungy on Sunday Night Football, so he hears things. I think for all the connections, that's the weird thing about him, right? For all the connections and is plugged in and is tuned in to the league and the executives and the networks and people in the know as he sure misses on a lot of stuff. And it's like he throws darts, right? And hopes something sticks. I've never understood that about a guy that's as connected as he is. What's that, Bo?
I don't know if it's darts. I mean, I'd call it spaghetti at this point, hoping some pasta
that
sticks.
Too.
I mean, man.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. Be interested to know what everybody in the chat thinks. Do they anticipate Rashee Rice being suspended this year or next?
It's just the timing of it, right? And by the deliverer, it's just strange because as we mentioned, he's usually not pro Chiefs, but then he did it on the Pat McAfee show during the ESPN hour, right?
Training camp coming up.
Is it a way to float that story out there so people, soften the blow to everybody that hates the Chiefs,
Yeah, that could definitely be it. Training camp's coming up, right? I mean, the NFL is about to be back in the spotlight. Not that they're really ever out of the spotlight, but even more so once training camp starts and preseason games start. So something to keep an eye on. Yeah, I mean, definitely helps the chances of the three-peat if he doesn't get suspended this year.
Oh, yeah.
They brought in Hollywood Brown. They drafted Xavier Worthy in the first round. So they've got some speedsters back in the wide receiver room. Rashee Rice really stepped up and was the guy at that position last year for the Chiefs down the stretch and through the playoffs and into the Super Bowl. I was watching Super Bowl highlights the other day, and that catch he made on third down on the game-winning drive there in overtime was a sick catch and play work.
So unreal, right?
And I still laugh every time
in that situation.
Right. Yeah. Tony Romo calls it too right before that play. He's like, I think they back out here a little bit, and then they bring the blitz, sell out 49ers doing everybody, and he goes, oh no, they should not have done that. And right as he says they should not have done that, Patrick Mahomes finds Rashee Rice streaking across the middle of the field and picks up the first down. We've talked about Tony Romo on the show before. We don't need to get into the Tony Romo thing again, but I mean, I like the guy, and I find myself, he gives commentary and makes, points things out in the game that you just don't see a lot of these other guys bring up and point out. So still puts a smile on my face every time I hear him say oh, they should not have done that. Right. It's right before he gets Rice for the big gain and the first down. Talk about playoff and Super Bowl Patrick too, man. That drive, they were in third and long 2 or 3 times in that drive in the Super Bowl in overtime.
Fourth down at one point.
They had a fourth down. It was a fourth and short, but they converted a fourth down. They got a first down on a couple of situations where they were second and third and 10 or longer, right? Where the play where MVS, old Butterhands, runs backwards for 12 yards.
Backwards and doesn't, trying to avoid
puts them behind the
tackle.
sticks. So they had a couple of plays, a running play there where they got stuffed at the line. So,
like Rashid Rice balled out in that game, right? He didn't have like the most spectacular game like he did in the.
It's looking like
Dolphins,
Lego's got his
but
pyrotechnics
so
license
clutch.
here.
Dude, I've been watching this and I've been trying to like not sidebar into a fireworks conversation, but goddamn, we got to bring up this Panther 21 or whatever the fuck you just said, and setting off fireworks from your smartphone. I need to step up my firework game. First of all, I didn't know you could do that.
Man, I'm still using punks.
They got an app
and an old Bic lighter. You know what I'm saying? Set my stuff off. Lego's on. I'm not even saying he's on another level. I mean, he's like 10 levels up. I mean, he's not even in the same game anymore. Setting him off with his phone. I mean, that's safer, right? That's probably a lot. I mean, keep all your fingers and all your digits. Setting them off with your phone, rather than stand next to him and lighting them.
The old cigarette method that I use still, right?
Yeah.
He needs to get one of those hats to say, "If you see me running, start running."
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, yeah, Lego, you have to send us some videos. I don't know if you follow us on X or not, or on any of our social media, but I'd like to see a video of that. I'd like to see what you got going on. If you have some professional fireworks stuff going on, we'll give you a shout out.
That curiosity nerve for me, man. Like, what? You got pyrotechnics certification? That's amazing. Congratulations,
awesome.
by the way.
Is that a mail order certificate, Lego?
Like,
or
is this an
you go to
online
school for
course
that
like you can send the link to?
Crazy
I've never heard of
pyrotechnics certificate.
Right, I've never heard of like Pyrotechnic Institute or anything like that. So I don't even know how you get a license like that. That's an interesting whole other subject there with the 4th of July coming up. So Susan's ready for some fireworks. I know I'm ready for some fireworks. So 4th of July, by far my favorite holiday and the best holiday, the best day of the year. In my humble opinion, I know a lot of people might say Christmas. Maybe Thanksgiving's another big one, right? I mean, popular of the holidays, but 4th of July for me.
St. Patty's Day?
Yeah, St. Patrick's Day, it's a big one. Used to be one of my favorites before I stopped partaking in the drunken debauchery that is St. Patrick's Day. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the rice thing and getting into that. Another quick story we'd like to touch on here. We've had a shark sighting, shark in the waters again. Our old friend Frank Clark, number 55, who wasn't offsides, put a post on his IG to the Chiefs and to Chris Jones saying, "Bring me back, man. I'm ready. I'm in the gym. I'm working out, man. Let's go. Get me back on this team. Let's go get this three-peat." Frank Clark, if you've watched this show, you know how much we all love and admire and respect that guy and what he brought to the team. And we've talked about it before. The guy, when he got here, he brought an edge and a nastiness to that defense that was sorely needed and made big plays when it mattered. You can say he had stretches in the regular season where he would disappear. The amount of money they paid him with the sacks that he got, there's some people are disappointed in the contract the guy got, but he came here and turned around that defense. Him and Tyrann Mathieu, right? Like came in and just brought us turned it into a championship caliber defense. That was when the offense was the deep strike and the big home runs with Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill. And, Patrick was throwing for 5,000 or almost 5,000 yards every year and 40, 50 touchdowns. But he came in and helped turn that defense around from the Bob Sutton days of getting just absolutely torched by the Patriots in that one AFC championship game. And really hurting Alex Smith and the team in previous years. They had a really pretty good offense that the defense was just not good enough. Nick, you want Frank Clark back? You think there's any possibility the guy comes back? I mean, they're pretty loaded on the defensive line with Karlaftis and Chris Jones. They re-signed Mike Dana. Charles Omenihu should be coming back from injury, right? I don't know who else I'm missing on that defensive line there, but that's a stacked position group for the Chiefs, right?
Yeah, look, the roster spots are so tight, you probably can't sacrifice one, but you do, just like you talked about, that mentality that he brought to the defense. I mean, just I hope they can bring him back just for the post AFC Championship game speech, right? For interview. I
It'd be
mean,
worth it.
it's
Worth
worth the
gold.
roster spot just if you can get another one of those on the books, but probably not, right? They probably just don't. They just don't have the space, man. I mean, the NFL rosters are tight. They just don't have an extra spot to give. I don't think so.
John C. with the comment of the offseason, perhaps right here. The shark is one of us forever. Rings? Yeah, no. This team had no rings before Frank Clark. Well, they had one ring from a long time ago, but they had no rings before Frank Clark got here. And the dude was instrumental, man. Like, there's no in the playoffs, in the big moments, the dude was the guy on the defense that stepped up and made the plays. So, Bo, you want Frank Clark back? Does he come back? Is this just a fun story? I mean, I don't see really any shot that he comes back, right? But I mean, I want him back.
I think it's fun. I think it wouldn't. I don't think it would hurt us. But to Nick's point, I think we're really deep in that position group, and it's not one of those necessary moves that we need to fill any kind of gaps. I mean, who knows? After training camp and stuff, they might reevaluate that whole group and be like, actually, you know what? We need a veteran player. But there's also free agencies and stuff, or free agents out there that, probably be a little bit better in that position group, a little bit more affordable for what you're getting. If, as Laney brings up, if he comes back, it'd have to be pretty cheap. But I wouldn't hate it. It'd be a great guy to have in there. We tend to bet really young on the defensive side of the ball anyway, so it'd be a really good brain to pick. And you guys are speaking to his mentality, right? I think it was Deion Sanders talking about like the mentality you want in like your defensive rush guys versus like a quarterback. Quarterback you want like goes to church, did all the right things, extracurricular activities. Your defensive guys, you want them to like be able to chew on concrete and rip people's arms off, right? Like that's kind of mentality, and that's kind of mentality he brought, dude. Just get in there and get it done. And Chris Jones really is he's always been in favor of this, but he replied to it on X too. He's really all about bringing Frank Clark back. And hey, man, you make that guy happy for the right price. I'm all about that too. Let's get this defense meshing and everything. Is it realistic? I doubt it, but man, it'd be really fun to see.
It's looking like our man Lego, his license and his certificate is legit here. He's got the training and he's got the books, man. He's got the knowledge. So that's cool. Yeah, make sure you find out. We got our email address here too. If you got some videos or something of some of the work you've done, some of the displays, we'll put it on the show or something. Hell, I don't know. That's cool as hell.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, look, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm calling Frank Clark and I'm telling him, say, look, man, don't take this the wrong way, but the bus is full right now, right? But it's a long season and people get injured and things happen. Stay in shape and keep that phone close by, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I could see Frank Clark coming back in like a break glass in case of emergency, right? Frank, stay in shape and stay ready and stay by your phone. If I'm the Chiefs, that's what I'm telling them. And if you get a guy like a Karlaftis or you get a guy like a Jones or a Minihue or a Dana or one of these guys, one of these edge players especially, look, man, I could see him coming back and playing a role like that, right? Coming back in the mid-season or late in the season. You just never know what injuries are going to affect. And it's a long season and it's a tough season. 17 games is no joke. So, man,
This is why you want Frank Clark back right here.
Right there. I believe that was after they went in and spanked the Ravens in their Mahomes and Travis Banks Stadium, as we call it now, M&T Bank Stadium. And that was when the talk was all Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. They're the team to beat this year, right? That was before the Bills were the team that, the Bills are the team you got to beat now. They're the new kings of the AFC, and watch out for the Bills. And then it was the Bengals, and then it was back to the Bills, and then it was back to the Ravens last year. But at the time of this tweet, I believe it was still probably Twitter at that point. So the correct term probably is a tweet, right? That was after a primetime game where they went in and smacked the Ravens around in their stadium. And there was a lot of talk going on by the Ravens. There was a lot of talk going in the media that they were the team, and they went in there, and that's exactly what they did. They kicked in their door and took their shit. So, if you don't follow Frank Clark on social media, you got to be following him, man. Like, there's several other really, really good tweets that are in that same vein as that one there. So, man, I would love to get Frank Clark on the show somehow. You have no idea how happy that would make me to be able to talk to Frank Clark. Like, just get him on here. I still know how to get a hold of him.
Friend of the show, John Cena. John Cena, hey man.
Oh yeah, maybe John
Reach
Cena
out for us.
Maybe John Cena knows Frank Clark.
He follows us on.
Bro, I was at work and that notification popped up on my phone and it says John Cena now follows you, and I was like the John Cena? Like, no way. So I bring it up, and there's so many of these imposter and parody accounts on X.
Dude, it was him.
I brought it up, and it's like 14 million followers, and I'm like, I think that's him. I sent it to you guys. I honestly would have thought John Cena would have more followers than 14 million. For real.
That's
like
a shit ton of followers.
He's a movie star though, too, right? Like, he's not just like one of the most famous wrestlers of all time. That dude's a movie star. So I'm gonna DM him, see if we can get him to come on somehow. He follows almost 800,000 accounts, so I can't imagine what those DMs look like. He's probably paying somebody to go through that shit for him, right? I mean, there's no way John Cena's going through. If you got 14 million followers and your DMs are open and you're following 800,000, how many DMs a day are you getting?
Your phone probably gets physically heavier.
Like, I mean, I don't.
The electrons.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, Frank Clark. I just don't know how to get a hold. Like, I think Frank Clark's the type of guy that would come on and do your show too. You know what I'm saying? Like, he seems like a cool, down to earth
show and
guy,
take over our show. That's how cool he is, man.
He right.
Doing this
He
now.
can come on every week.
Bro, he can come on every week.
Chiefs Kingdoms.
But we can call it Frank Clark Live every week. I don't give a damn if he wants to come on the show. We'll change the name of the show for that dude. Yeah, we'll see. I could see him coming back if nobody picks him up. And like I said, stay healthy and stay ready, bro. That's what you hear a lot of these teams tell these guys, these fringe guys or guys that are experienced. It's kind of sad Frank Clark didn't get in on the back-to-back, right? I mean, he got two rings, which there's a lot of guys like Dan Marino that would kill for 2 rings, right?
Am I remembering my own hopeful dreams of him? Like, wasn't there talks of him like coming back late?
Yeah, there was last year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he was rumored that he was going to be in Kansas City, and somebody posted, like, tweeted at him, or somebody sent him something on Instagram that they were like, Frank, I need you to sign some of my stuff, man. They had like cleats from the game. I'm sure they got all that stuff off Chiefs bids, right? Jerseys. They had all kinds of Frank Clark stuff. And he's like, I'll be in KC next week. Let's hook up. I'll do it, you know? And so, yeah, there was a little bit of smoke there last year that maybe he was going to come back to the team. But it's just like that defensive line is so deep.
And it's effective finally, right? So it's like, Where would he fit in?
Yeah. He'd fit in if a guy or two goes down. That's where Frank Clark would fit in. So I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to talk about, NFL news or whatnot. Anybody in the chat, if you got any questions or something that we missed, maybe. Nick, you said something about Pat McAfee was they're pumping up the Bengals.
Yeah, for this year.
What happened? I missed that.
Oh, just McAfee was talking about, are the Bengals Super Bowl contenders this year, and they're kind of juicing them up, and people are saying, oh yeah, no, they're the one team that can take out the Chiefs because they beat us one time like 3 years ago in an important game. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to laugh about that because it's like, I mean, that was like not even the same team ago, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but Joe Burrow's his cap numbers creeped up there. Those previous 2 years he's making like $8-9 million a year, and I think this year he's at like $29 million. So
yeah, man, John C. I'm not a fan of the clothes. The Joe Burrow, man, that dude, like, Does the guy get dressed in the dark or something? Or like, is there nobody around that guy is telling him that ain't it, man?
Sadly, he has
saying?
like 8 people influencing those outfits, man. Right? It's the exact opposite of what you're thinking.
Man, he needs to find some better friends or something, or some better advice, because some of the stuff he wears is just it's gaudy to be gaudy, right? It's not even that it's like eccentric or anything like that. It's just ugly as hell. But everything I've seen so far for the Bengals this offseason has been turmoil, right? T. Higgins is not happy. He was talking about requesting a trade. Trey Hendrickson, the defensive lineman, he's not happy. They're trying to figure out how they're going to pay these people, who they're going to keep. They can't keep Burrow and Chase and T. Higgins, I don't think. So they've got – who did they bring in from yeah, see, that's – I mean, that jacket looks good, but does he got no shirt on underneath that? Like –
bold move, go suit jacket, no shirt underneath, right?
I mean, that's not the worst thing the dude's ever worn.
No,
what
was
that? It ain't the best.
Flowers thing that he wore?
Huh? Oh, I mean, you could probably just Google Joe Burrow outfit image search and find all
this
kinds
is
of
this is the one that I was thinking of when you guys were talking about that.
Friends don't let friends wear clothes like that in public.
What do you mean, man? He thinks he's fly. You could still say fly.
I don't know. What do the kids call that? Grip or something like that? I don't know.
Beautiful swag. Look at that. Give him his flowers. Come on.
I mean, that ain't it. Andy Reid can pull it off with the Hawaiian shirt bit and the flowers, right? But other than that, there's not a whole lot of like flower going on that looks good on clothing, even like a lot of women's clothes too. But Susan's on our.
See Andy Reid with the suit jacket, no shirt on underneath.
I don't think you'll see Andy Reid with the suit jacket, no shirt, but you might see him with a flowery Hawaiian shirt, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Susan, not a fan of the fit there by Joe Burrow. Brenda saying he needs to have his mom's closet, wearing his mom's clothes. Yeah, I mean, there's more to it than just that, too. I mean, he's worn some like I'm trying to think of the outfit he had where he had the hat, and it was awful. And I was thinking,
so who are you guys thinking are going to be the AFC contenders this year, right? I mean, obviously it's a new season. It's really hard to base the next season off of last year's, but like, who are we thinking are going to be the real AFC contenders? Are the Bengals in that top 3?
Yeah, I mean, right now I think you're probably looking. I think the Ravens are going to be good again, but it's Lamar Jackson. And look, Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP, a threat running the ball. People have debated whether his arm and his passing has gotten better or not. I was also watching AFC Championship game highlights because that's what I do at my free time right at night. That interception he threw into the end zone towards the end of that AFC Championship game was one of the worst passes I've ever seen in a playoff game. It was awful. It was terrible. I know they've got Derrick Henry, and everyone's like, oh, can you imagine Derrick Henry in that running game? Like, Derrick Henry is getting old, man. You know, like, I mean, he's still Derrick Henry, but he was with his prime with the Titans, and he was pretty good. And that didn't stop the Chiefs, right? That wasn't enough. Didn't beat us. So, but yeah, I mean, if you want the top 3 competitors to the Chiefs in the AFC, I'm probably going to put the Ravens in there. So hard to tell what the Browns are going to do. They caught fire last year, but now Deshaun Watson's back, and that guy is just – he's shown some flashes that he might get back to his old Houston Texans form, but I think it's getting less and less likely the more and more days go by and the more injuries pile up with the guy. But the Texans are a good story last year, CJ Stroud, but you never know about a sophomore slump. Some of these guys experience that. Sometimes these teams jump up unexpectedly. They were terrible, right? The year before, a couple years before, they were one of the worst teams in the NFL. So they got to play a first-place schedule coming up this year. We'll see how they fare. But right now, I'm probably going. Just because I'm saying you're a top contender doesn't mean I think you're a real threat to the Chiefs. But top three contenders to me right now would be.
Obviously.
I'm going to say the Ravens. I'm going to say the Dolphins and the Bengals. Nick?
Nick, before you answer,
You're
I'm
not-
curious to see what the chat thinks here. So if you guys in the chat have
Yeah.
top three, who do you think is going to be contenders?
Yeah, we've got Ravens. Brenda's putting Ravens out there. John C saying Texans. You're not putting any stock in the Aaron Rodgers Jets this year, Scotty?
Aaron Rodgers hasn't played football in how long now? And what's his age?
He played last season.
I mean, yeah, technically.
He even started last season.
He did. He started one game last year. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I was kind of on the Jets.
I
I'm not
was
saying
too.
bandwagon, but I thought they were going to be a legit team. They have a good defense. They've got some offensive weapons, but Aaron Rodgers, another year older and having missed an entire season with injury.
Not with the Bills and the Dolphins in the same.
I'm
division.
not throwing them up there in the top three right now.
Nick, you think of the Jets going to turn it around?
No.
Okay.
No, I was more just bringing that up to talk shit.
Right.
I think that,
I mean, I like Aaron Rodgers. I would like to see him come back and be the player that he was. He was,
he's a
great player, man.
one of the best passers the league has
ever
ever seen, right?
Yeah.
Look, I'm thinking Ravens got to be up there. Texans are ascending. Dolphins. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if the Chargers actually take a step forward or not with a better coach this year, right? I mean, I think everybody was pretty certain that their coach is holding them back, but man, they had a fire sale this offseason at the same time, so we'll see. So looks like Scotty's
Right.
dropped out, but I don't know. Who are you thinking, Bo?
No, I really agree with you guys. Like, I mean, the Ravens, I'm with Scott, right? I was watching the replays from last year, and it's just like, does that translate again this year? Maybe. I mean, they're still a great team, so I mean that defense is arguably like right there with us, if not the best defense. Or I mean, man, the Browns defense was pretty good last year too. Browns are a little like underrated, right? They might fly in there. I would actually pick the Dolphins and then sub the Dolphins in December when it starts getting cold and put the Browns in there, right? And like maybe they might be a little bit more worthy of opponent until then. But no, I really agree with you guys. I think the Ravens, the Dolphins, and Scott kind of nailed it for me. The Texans. I'm really curious to see what CJ Stroud does. I really liked his potential. I had him on my fantasy team, so I kind of followed him last year, and he won me one of my leagues. So there we go. Yeah, I the Chargers though. I'm always I don't know. I think that's just a little bit overrated talk, man. I mean, the fact that Justin Herbert still has his position because Tyrod Taylor got his lung punctured by the athletic trainer. Like I could never forget that. Like that doesn't. I didn't see the talent then. I don't see it now, and it still fascinates me that he has that job over Tyrod Taylor. I mean, people still say he's good, but I have yet to see it. But
They had a 5,000 yard season.
Yeah, sure. How'd that turn out for him?
There it goes.
You're talking about Herbert?
Yeah, I just was seeing if you thought that they were going to do anything with new coach.
Oh, yeah, we kind of talked about that when they brought him in. I think it's obviously an improvement, which doesn't necessarily saying a lot for the last guy they had there, the clown that they had, the analytics genius wizard, right, that was going to reinvent football and couldn't win one playoff game with one of the better quarterbacks. I mean, Justin Herbert's a top 5 or 6 quarterback in the NFL, right? I mean, but the defense just has not been good enough for them. They lose Keenan Allen. Austin Eckler's gone. That's a team to me that's in rebuild mode this year, even though they got the new coach and the quarterback. So looks like we lost Bo. You guys lost me there for a second. I don't know, my router got a message saying my router was unstable. So, but yeah, it's interesting to say. I'm forgetting the Browns. To me, like, they're salty and they got a good defense and they've got playmakers on offense, but the Deshaun Watson is just too much of an unknown. He's too much of a question mark right now for me to really consider them like one of the top teams in the AFC. That's really the only thing holding them back. They're sneaky for sure. I gotta see more out of Deshaun Watson before I'm gonna say they're one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the AFC. I don't know. I kind of missed out who you got. So Nick, who did you have?
Yeah, I think I was going Ravens. Who did I say? Ravens, Texans, Dolphins.
Right.
Yeah. I'm so hesitant to throw the Bills and the Bengals in there though, but I can
I'm
we
not
more than as a top 3?
I'm not throwing the Bills in there. I was a Kadarius Toney toe off sides away from calling their downfall last year. They would have missed the playoffs. So they've lost Stephon Diggs. Some people may say that's addition by subtraction with some of the diva attitude he's got and the turmoil or trouble he can bring you. But we all saw what Josh Allen and the Bills looked like without Stephon Diggs that first year, right? I think they've lost several players to age and free agency and have not been able to bring some of those guys back. I do not see them winning that division next year. I see them kind of being the team that they were for the first 3 quarters of last year, right? At least the first half. I just don't see how or where they've gotten better.
So you thinking the Dolphins take that division then?
Dolphins or the Jets, I think, is their division. Depending on what Aaron Rodgers, like I said, is just too much unknown with him missing this much time at his age. If this was 5 or 6 years ago, Aaron Rodgers missed a year with injury, okay, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and think that he's just going to come back and be what he was before. But that age, missing that amount of time, I can't put them up there
with that injury too, right? Like,
right, it's a serious injury.
You have to be a little mobile. I mean, having your mobility hindered in this league just by a half inch or so or a split second is the difference between being conscious and unconscious in this league. I feel like, especially at that position.
Yeah, Kevin's talking about the media picking the Chargers. I haven't seen as much of that, but there has been a little bit of it still, even this year. John C., the Steelers, I just don't see them with the quarterback. They got Russ Wilson. We all saw what Russ Wilson was the last couple of years. And then they got Justin Fields, who maybe the Steelers can unlock Justin Fields, but to me, Justin Fields is like Aldi brand Lamar Jackson, right? Just not. The guy can make plays, but he also makes too many mistakes and is just not polished enough to really be like cream of the crop, top tier NFL quarterback or be like one of the best teams, lead one of the best teams in the AFC. So, I mean, they're going to win. They're going to win 7 or 8 games, though. Mike Tomlin somehow, some way, always
brings up our division rivals trying to hurt Mahomes this next season. You guys think that's a real possibility? These guys just trying to play dirty to prevent anything from being upset. What is this, like the 6th, 7th year in a row in the AFC?
I don't know.
AFC West.
I would like to think that Patrick Mahomes has earned enough respect and accolades and is like respected enough around the league to where guys aren't going to be trying to cheap shot him and take him out and hurt him. Doesn't mean that somebody couldn't. There's not some bonehead out there, some rogue guy that's going to do something like that. But no, I think he has garnered and earned enough respect from the league that guys aren't going to be taking late hits, dangerous shots. I mean, Max Crosby might punch him when he's running by after the play's over, right? We saw that at Arrowhead. Mahomes took exception to that a little bit, but I don't think that that's something really got to worry about. Not that injuries can't happen, but I don't necessarily see that happening, even with a team like the Raiders. Nick, or is that something you're concerned with or worried about seeing or think happens?
No, I mean, I think Mahomes is pretty smart about the situations he puts himself in. I don't. They've also. I mean, does the hip drop go into effect this year? Or
Yeah, I think
I
so.
believe
hip
so.
drop tackles. So I mean, they're going to be watching a lot of that stuff.
And is that something they enforce hardcore though? I don't know. I feel like that could be like. I feel like that could be the lowering the head to initiate contact thing that they said they were going to crack down on running backs and offensive players for doing, and they never really did, right?
Yeah.
It'd be an interesting preseason to see all these new rule changes and what they do decide to
Right.
stick with and enforce the first couple of regular season games. And I don't know, preseason will be a good little preview of what we could expect throughout the season, though.
Yeah, our man Kevin's slamming on the Broncos here a little bit, or a lot. I guess you say I don't see them being a factor this year.
I mean, I hope they win 1-3 game. You know,
They got a hot for a little stretch last year and won some games, but those were more about like the teams they playing like total shit, right? Than like them playing all that great. They didn't really go out there and trounce or beat anybody soundly. It was all kind of like last second fluky things where teams had 4 or 5 turnovers or something. So
Right, when they beat us.
I don't expect
right?
I don't expect much out of any of the AFC West teams next year. I mean, you got the Broncos with depleted roster and a rookie quarterback. You've got the Chargers, you got the Raiders being the Raiders, and you've got the Broncos. I mean, Chargers are in rebuild. Like,
There it is.
I don't expect a lot. I mean, I think the second place team in the AFC West next year wins maybe 5 or 6 games.
What we need to look up is how many times a head coaching change has resulted in like a division championship or playoff run or something like that, for the Chargers' sake, anyway.
Right. I mean, you look at like Andy Reid. He came in and turned that ship around right away, but there was talent here, and Andy Reid was a little bit more of an established head coach in the NFL than Jim Harbaugh, right?
Yeah, and then the Chargers lost.
He didn't take 10 years
Keenan
off either.
Allen
Go
and
coach
Austin
college.
Eckler, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're not the same team.
Yeah. He's got a quarterback. I mean, he's got the most important piece in place, right? An above average. I'm not going to call Justin Herbert an elite quarterback, but he's above average. The dude's not like one of these also ran guys that you can't, necessarily name. I mean, you saw a picture of him, him, right? You look at some of the numbers that he's been able to put up, and he's been productive. So we'll see how it goes. But anything else you guys want to get to, or you guys want to bounce out of here?
I got a couple of kiddos that want to do some fireworks.
All right. Yeah, I can hear some fireworks going on outside. So appreciate everybody for joining us. If you're going to be, it's good to see you, man. If you guys are going to be shooting off any fireworks, be safe. Take as much precaution as you can.
Still want to be able to do this.
Yeah. You still want to have all your fingers after tomorrow. So really appreciate everybody watching. We'll try to be back next week. Whatever Chiefs news comes up, maybe we'll try to dig up some more Mahomes greatness, some more. Those playoff stats are still just mind blowing to me. Like the numbers that dude is. When I was reading that, I was like, man, we got to talk about that this week. Well, they got to give the guy his dues. Not that 3 Super Bowl trophies and 3 Super Bowl MVPs isn't giving the man his dues, but what he's been able to do in the playoffs is really amazing. So, as always, really, really good to see everybody. Thanks for being lively in the chat. Makes for a lot funner show. If you haven't clicked like or subscribe, do that for us. We'd sure appreciate that. Until next week, y'all have a happy, safe 4th of July, and let's go Chiefs.
Let's go Chiefs.